Bum, 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 bum. Hey, what's up? We're here. We made it.
Hey, straight up, I'm serious.
Stand up and clap.
You know, I don't think people realize I'm the one that supplied the voice samples for that song.
Boy, everybody know that's Eddie Murphy.
Straight up, I'm serious.
Welcome to the King Abrams Show, everybody. Hey, we're so happy to have you. Wow. So we've got an exciting show lined up for you today. Today, we're going to talk about sex, of course, but today we're going to talk about sex and slot machines, how Vegas psychology is affecting everyone's sex life.
And how you can safely put it in the slot without sometimes it's hard to get it in there, really. I had to try. I wanted to fit in a slot joke somehow. I don't know. You say slot, it makes me think of some part of anatomy that I enjoy putting things in. It's don't really know where I'm going with this.
Right. Hey, at least you dropped the joke, even though we don't know where you're going.
This may be a Paw Patrol cup, but believe me, it is full of adult beverage. All right, let's.
You scared me.
That's daddy.
Just alcohol.
This is how dads drink and look responsible. You know, this is it.
Paw Patrol. I know all about it. My kids are older now, so I don't have to worry about that toddler little baby Paw Patrol bullshit anymore. Yo Gabba Gabba and all that dumb. I get to watch real TV with them.
I know, but you got to worry about them watching stuff like our show. That's
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like I saw mommy on YouTube last night talking with this old white man about sex. You know, that's gotta be weird.
They know what I'm doing, but they just can't hear it. Like I tell them, I'm very transparent about what I'm doing. I'll tell them, it's a show about sex, and so you're too young for some of the content because you wouldn't understand it. I'm pretty transparent. I probably tell my kids more than I should.
Yeah, no, that's a good parent, to be honest. Hiding things from your kid, and this is, okay, let me go into psychology mode, right? Hiding things from your kids and not letting them learn things through you just means that they have to learn stuff through other kids and through, the streets that they see, and it's just you don't want that happening. You don't want kids growing up with misunderstandings and weird stuff. You want to let them know, so you want them to watch the King Abrams Show.
Tell your kids to tune in.
Tell your children. We are 100% kid appropriate tonight.
8 to 80. Cripple look crazy.
Sponsored by whatever is in this cup. I'm pointing at the cup like they're our sponsor. Yeah, no, these guys definitely have nothing to do with this, the production of this show. Sam is looking at me like, where are you going with this, Brian?
We're still talking about Paw Patrol.
I have no idea.
Where is the segue?
Oh, man, there's got to be. Sometimes I just keep talking until there comes one, or it's at the end of the show.
Well, I'm excited because we do have a special guest slated to come in who is having some technical difficulties getting in, but I think he's on the way. So I'll deal with that in the background. But I'm really excited about this particular show. And I wondered if I should have saved this content for maybe the 10th or 12th show in when we're getting better at it.
Yeah. Well, I'm of the opinion that if it's interesting, it's interesting enough to revisit. And so there's only 5 or 6 topics in the field of sexuality anyway. So it's after those 5-6 shows, then what are we gonna do? Well, we gotta go. Let's start back at number 1 again.
Are you kidding me? There is so much content.
Yes, I'm kidding, but that's because we're comedians. But the point is that it's okay to revisit stuff. We're going to talk about sexual orientation one of these days, and then we're not going to say everything on the subject, and then we'll revisit it just like we'll revisit today's topic someday.
Yeah. Well, this is a good one. In fact, we are revisiting because we did mention it on a previous show. I'm not sure which one. I don't know if it was the shit show or episode 2.
Let's play rewind real quick. Oh, it was the shit show. That's what it was. It was the shit show. I think you. So you. It was funny with that. I don't want to keep mentioning that show, but you were that day. I think you were trying so hard to make something good when everything was going wrong that you just kept coming up with like, okay, let's talk about this topic because and then this topic and this topic and so forth. Yeah, it was the shit show.
It was a shit show. It was the
Yeah.
jankiest shit ever. But that's okay because we're figuring it out. We hired a producer and now we have like people on board and we're moving and grooving. So today we're talking about probably one of my favorite experiments that I've ever read ever since I became a science geek. And this was, and I wrote about it in my book, by the way. Dr. Brian King and I both are science authors. And I wrote a book called The Complete Player, which really is a summary of the brain science, right? What happens to your brain when you're having sex, falling in love, when you're addicted, and then when you're processing self-worth. So it's called The Complete Player. It's available on Amazon. You can get the ebook or the paperback. And Doctor, you wrote a book called The Art of Taking It Easy.
Yeah, that's my most recent book. And wow, we are currently having a really good month for The Art of Taking It Easy. It's been picked up by this national book club that's based in libraries, and I just found out a couple days ago that it's now going to be pushed by Amazon. So next month is probably going to be doing really well. It's exciting, and we may actually even have people watching this show who found me as a result of my of reading my book recently, or this push to get my book out into people's hands. This is not related to my book. If you found me through my book, we're going to talk about sex. My book, The Art of Taking It Easy is about taking it easy, and which is what you do after sex. So we're this is going to be all about sex, and Samantha has her agenda. But we're both authors, we're both scientists. I guess you've never done science, but you have a good understanding of some science. Right. So we're both, we both have this interest, and we bring it to this table, and so that's what we're here.
Yeah. So here, today's subject, it's again one of my favorite experiments because it is, B.F. Skinner is a behavioral psychologist. You know who was,
yeah,
right? And so what he was like early 1900s. Do you remember?
I don't know the exact time frame, but we're talking was he in the 50s? I want to say he was in the 50s.
Oh, it was later than that. It was the 50s,
no,
60s.
That might be too late, actually. That might, I think Watson. So he's a behavioralist, basically. And I should know these dates, but I don't because I'm not a historian. I'm a psychologist, But the history of psychology is pretty important. Skinner was somebody who, on the heels of Pavlov, was somebody who developed a whole bunch of learning theory. And so he developed what we call operant conditioning theory. And that now I know I don't want to get boring. So at some point we have to flash some cleavage or something because I don't want to get boring. But Pavlov is a name everybody knows, or lots of people are familiar. Pavlov's dogs, the idea was that Pavlov would ring a bell every time he fed his dogs, or every time he presented their food to them, and he would measure their salivation. And then, of course, after a while, he could just ring the bell without providing them with food, and it would make them salivate. And he called this a classical conditioning. He conditioned the response of salivation to something like a bell, which is not a stimulus that should normally elicit that kind of response. So Skinner developed, on the heels of that, developed what we call operant conditioning. Whereas you can condition somebody not to just have a physiological reaction like salivating, but you can condition an organism to actually engage in a behavior. And so, one behavior, again, using food, because food is a real strong motivator for animals. So using food, you can condition an animal to hit a lever in order to get a food pellet drop. That the apparatus right there is what we call a Skinner box.
Box.
Yeah. So that rat is not instinctively drawn to the lever of the box. It learns that it can press the lever and get food out of a series of attempts to get food and do things and whatever. It's in the box, it's hungry, it's exploring, it randomly touches the lever, boom, food pellet.
Okay, right. So let me just jump in here. This guy Skinner, so he invented, let's just talk about him for a second. He invented this Skinner box, right? He basically sat down one day and said, you know what, as a scientist, I'm gonna create a box where I'm gonna put an animal inside, and I'm either gonna give it a positive reinforcement or negative reinforcement. I'm either give it some food or like an electric shock. Right, I'm going to either punish it or reward it, and so there are a slew of different experiments and where you can sort of guess at human behavior, if you will, by using these Skinner boxes. And one particular, you talked about classical conditioning, but one particular experiment that really applies to today's show is one where he took a rat, or he took a slew of them, but let's just take one rat, put it in the box, and then put a button in there. Right, one of those buttons that we see on the screen, let's say the green button, he'll click the button and a pellet or 2 or 3 of food will appear. So he'll eat this food, right? And then he'll learn very quickly that if he pushes the button, the food will appear. So what happens on a chart, the rat or mouse will eat the food and then he knows it's coming, right? So then he chills for a period of time. Then he'll go back, he'll eat some food, and then he'll chill some more. And so what was interesting, when they put this button on a variable, meaning the food would appear between 1 and 10 pushes. So now the rat doesn't know if he's got to push it 1 time or 7 times. But here's what happened. Once he got his food, he didn't chill. He didn't know when it was coming again. So he was just sitting there pushing the shit and just eating the shit and pushing it. And so this, I took a psychology course when I was writing my book, and they cited this experiment, and it just totally fascinated me. So this explains Vegas slot machine psychology, right? When you're at that slot machine, you're addicted to that shit because you don't know.
Well, there's 2 things going on. So, there's the reinforcement schedule of the box, of the machine, right? So, like you were saying, when it's a regular interval, when every single time I press a button, I get a piece of food. Well, then you're just going to press a button. When you're hungry, you get food. Press button, get food. Press button, get food. If it's every 5th time, I'm going to press a button, I'm going to get the food, and then I might just casually tap through 4 real quick and then get that 5th button. It's not, if you know when the reinforcement is coming, then you only really engage in the behavior when it's very predictable. And if there's time intervals, that also shapes your behavior. So what Samantha is getting at is that the one way in which you can schedule reinforcement that will create a behavior pattern where the individual or the rat or whatever is just like mad hitting the button, like just like constantly, is when it's called variable reinforcement. Is when reward is coming, but you don't know when, and you don't know how many actions it's going to take to get to it. And so that's the variable. But the thing that you do know is that there will be reward. This behavior will be rewarded. It's just a matter of when. And if you're not there to receive the reward, then of course you miss out. So you have to stay there and you have to stay active, and that's what creates the addictive sort of slot machine mentality.
Right. So how does that apply to sex and dating relationships? Because when I first learned about this experiment, it was placed in a context of dating. So a guy or a girl likes someone of the opposite sex or same sex. They like somebody. And then say that person is always available. Every time I push that button, there they come.
Yeah. Which is basically, that's what like dating a dude is like.
Right.
You
guys are always available.
We're 100% of the times that we get called, we will show up. That's what? Somebody call. We'll be there.
But this experiment really speaks to wouldn't say strategy. It was a strategy, more a strategy than a game, right? We don't play.
Right.
We try as grown-ups. We try not to play games with the people that we're dating,
Right.
but it just really boils down to basic human psychology, right? Females, ladies, right? If your guy is pushing that button and your ass is always available, then he's never gonna chase you.
Right.
This is why he smashes and then disappears for 5 days.
Well, I mean, it's more complicated than that. I mean, we got like parole officers and things, but we
You're on the run, Brian. You're on the run, Dr. King.
Yeah, exactly. No, so when you reward behavior on a regular basis, of course you get regular behavior, but you don't get like addicted behavior.
Right.
And so I think where you're going with this is that, like, say for example, we're in a relationship, we every time you call me, I show up. We get all integrated. We get all emotional, whatever, and then you start calling me and I don't show up, or I don't respond to the text, or I don't get back to you, and then like a few days later I do. So you're still getting the reinforcement that you seek, but you are now getting it at a variable interval, like at the Vegas slot machines. Right. And so what I'm doing to you, whether I realize it or not, and I think a lot of people who behave that way are not people who have studied BF skin.
Right. They don't know what's happening. Right.
But whether I realize it or not, what I'm doing by only reinforcing you on at variable terms and is that I'm creating addictive pattern of behavior in you. Like you become obsessive, you become somebody who you need to call me all the time, think about me all the time, and that is one. So basically, what we've just mentioned is if you want somebody to be hooked on you, you have to treat them like shit.
You got to ration that ass.
Exactly.
You got to disappear for a little bit.
That is never something I would recommend. Never.
No. We don't want to tell people to play games, but it's really not a game, because the thing about, as a female, you're right. Men are always available. Right? If you're offering up some ass, men will become available.
Oh yeah.
But
we figure out a way. We will quit jobs. We will quit jobs to it's like, oh, wait a minute, you ready? All right, I'm out of here.
Right.
We men will jeopardize being president of the United States for a blowjob.
But women are different. Women are totally different.
Yeah, women, it is seriously.
Yeah,
a woman wouldn't do that.
No. So for men, if she's, it's very, I think, rare. I think it's fairly rare for a woman, unless, for women to just be available all the time. I mean, there may be, there's a lot of unbusy motherfuckers out there. Right. Mm-hmm. But the thing I think that makes him really sort of adapt that addictive behavior around you. And let's face it, women, when we're dating a guy and we like him, we want him to sort of be obsessed with us in some small ways. Right. We want to feel like we're being pursued. And so if your ass is always available every time he pushes that button, then he's never going to feel the urgency of trying to find you. So while we don't want to recommend people to play games in their relationship, it's really not a game. Again, it's just basic human psychology. If you want him to think about you and wonder what you're thinking and where you are and whether you're thinking about him, then you got to ration that ass out.
Or I think you should just make him wait in line. Just be like, yeah, come over, but you got to understand, there's already like 3 dudes in my living room. Okay, you got to wait. You got to take a number. No, I don't. I honestly, I don't promote like that kind of intentional behavior, to manipulate others. But I do think that it's important. It's helpful for people to understand why they behave the way they do. It's like you can see like, okay, this guy doesn't call me except for every other day, every call, every time he wants to. Why am I so obsessed? Well, now now you know what, and if you want, I don't think you should manipulate somebody. I think you should just find somebody else that's working on like the same set of rules or the same set of strategies, so yeah, if you want somebody who's going to call you all the time, well, then you have to be that kind of person. Or if you want somebody who's, if you want to be more fair or more equitable or more, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, I think fair was good. I don't know why I need
Here's the
another
thing
word.
about women. Women, I think we naturally are obsessed with the guys that we're into. I think a lot of women just, we got comments coming in. That's awesome.
Yeah.
A lot of women just, a lot of people, but mainly women really kind of just want to be up under their man all the time. We all know someone like that. We all know a female. And so
Sure.
I think it's not necessarily playing games and trying to manipulate the situation, but it's more sort of a staving off of what we naturally feel like we want to do. Women want to call every day, twice a day. Dudes don't want that. Dudes don't
Well,
want that.
I mean,
They don't want to be nagged.
some
So
dudes,
be
some dudes
aware.
do though. Some dudes do.
I
That's
suppose.
just it. Like when it comes to like obsessing, I mean, women and men both obsess over others. I mean, this is in general, right? Not every woman, not every man, but in general, men obsess over women, women obsess over men obsess over other men, women obsess over other women. Some people obsess over farm animals. There's all kinds of obsession happening. It really isn't more of an individual basis, but if you want to understand why it is that you do the things that you do, well, you can look at the behavior of other people and how often your behavior you get reinforced by those other people. I have friends that, like, say for example, every time I call you, you do pick up the phone. I say, hey, I'm gonna call Sam because I could use me a little Sam action. And I call you, and I call you up, say, hey Sam, what you doing? Want to come over tonight? And you're like, man, I'm all sick. I'm all blah. It's just a bummer to talk to you. In other words, right? Like, so even though you picked up the phone, I didn't get reinforced. I didn't get what I was looking for. So it's there's all sorts of variability. There's all sorts of things that we can play. And people do intentionally play these games. I never recommend it. I think more along lines of people should just be like, open about what they want, understand why they act the way they act, and if somebody isn't giving you what you want, then move on. If you want a guy to obsess over you, but do you really? Those are the kind of guys that then end up stalking and coming over and like, hanging out behind your bushes.
Maybe obsessed isn't the right word. I mean, we just, everybody wants to feel desired. We want to feel equally desired.
Oh yeah, no, desire is good, but desired is not. It's interesting. We love that, right? You like to feel desired. I like to feel that way, and there's a lot of people in the world that will never feel that way. You walk down the street, look at any bus stop. Go to, not to pick on people taking the bus.
Somebody love their ugly ass.
I'm just saying, not to pick on people that are taking the bus, but you have to realize there's some people out there that, not everybody's dealt the same hand, the same set of circumstances. Sometimes it's just enough to be tolerated by another human being. Well,
we want to expand the conversation. Our special guest has overcome their technical issues and has joined us. This guy I have known for so long. He really just brings a smile to my face. He's such a clever comedian. He's been doing comedy. He's one of those 20-year plus guys. I think he can help clarify. But you guys give a warm welcome for my friend and comedian Marc Howard, everybody. Yeah, there he is.
Yeah.
What up, Marc? Have you been listening into the conversation? And we can't hear Marc.
Marc, you got yourself muted, buddy.
I'm sorry.
We got him muted.
I'm sorry.
There he is.
Yeah, there you go. Man, you act like I'm really acting like I've never done this before. So how you doing, Doctor?
How's it going?
I did hear you, and I almost, when I first came in late, and I apologize for my misunderstanding of how to do this, but I almost logged back out because I'm a bitch when it comes to rats. I don't want to see them. I don't do rats. You understand? I don't do rats.
Yeah, no, they're the worst.
I saw Willard when I was very young. You shouldn't have a 6 or 7-year-old kid see Willard. That's the shape of life. But
I don't do rats either.
Well, okay. Yeah, have you done dogs? I'm just kidding.
I started my career working with rats, and I did that for about a year or two, and then I couldn't do it anymore. They smell. They're terrible.
I think we have a picture of that.
That's true. I get
like a young Dr. Brian King. I was like, is that you?
I know. It's like I look like a baby. I don't know if you can put it up.
Warning, Mark, we're going to show another picture of some rats, so you might want to close one eye at least.
I'm gonna move the phone back.
Samson, do we have that picture of a young Dr. Brian King working in a and that would be considered a Skinner box, right?
Yeah, it was a related apparatus, but yeah, it was developed from a Skinner box and something I did.
Picture. He's gonna see. We can get that picture up for you.
Oh man, we totally sent it.
It's okay.
We need a new production. We need a new production person. Mark, you need a job?
Apparently you're fired.
My track record is you still want to hire me? Thank you. I appreciate it. So no, I would say, Samantha, I've been in the game for 30 years now. I'll be 31 next month.
Wow.
30? Wow.
Ooh, bitch, man.
30 years. That is a long time to not be famous.
Man. Man.
I'm getting there. We all getting there.
It's a labor of love. But I did hear
it really is.
you guys talking some interesting stuff. I won't be the one that agrees that men will just come calling every time somebody calls. I get it. There's some thirsty dudes out there. But I'm kind of different. If you're calling me all the time, there's some things I'll turn the ass down for. I've definitely done it to go play basketball. Or even with comedy. I love comedy. I tell people I love sex. Don't get me wrong, but comedy, having a great show is better than sex. So I'll turn those things and then come back. I'll be ready afterwards. But I don't go running. But you do have to be. I think to go on what you're saying as far as with women. I think that if you're giving it up, you need to understand what the circumstance of the relationship is. If you just give it up assuming, you set yourself up for. Now you're asking for commitment, and all of a sudden they're going, well, hold up, you would just give me some ass. Where we getting married at? So.
That's a given.
Right.
That's a given. I mean, in the context of any relationship that you establish in the beginning, like either y'all just fucking or you're trying to create something bigger. But at any rate, you don't want a bitch calling you every day. Look at there he is.
There we go. Way to come up timely.
Am I
But Mark, either way, you don't want a bitch calling you every day, do you? Unless, even your wife, like if you're married, do you really need to talk to the person, your significant other, every day?
Well, it's your wife, so you are going to see them every day. They don't need to keep calling you, but when you all
play it right.
We all lovey-dovey. You calling each other. I miss you. Happy 10-second anniversary. All that bullshit.
Oh God.
I'm of the thinking that really, because I've been married twice, I've been divorced twice. I wouldn't mind getting married again. I think I would like to find somebody that we can get married but still have separate homes.
That part.
Yeah, no, some people do find that actually a really workable solution, or just and some people even think not getting married at all is a good idea, and some people think, hey, tell you what, you join this church, I'll join this church, we'll live on separate islands. There's so many different things, but I think the important thing is like, if that person's behavior is consistent with what you want from them,
Right.
If somebody is bugging you constantly on the phone or hitting you up or texting you or whatever, and that's just not like what you want from them, well, then it's going to be annoying no matter what. It's going to drive you away no matter what. Yeah. But if you're feeling the same way, every single 10-second anniversary, you too, sweetie, it's just a matter of like if people are on the same page,
That's true, because if you're really into somebody, you kind of wonder why they haven't called you.
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
But there's a difference between calling frequently and then being a bugaboo. And if a person is a bugaboo, that means you really aren't into them. That means the level that you're into is not even. You don't have the same feelings that the other person has. That's tough. That's tough.
There's like that gets back to Samantha's whole premise. When there's a power differential, there's a player. And there's a Marc, you know what I mean? And so Samantha wrote a really good guidebook on how to become a player.
No, Marc. I did not.
I believe you did, Samantha. Yeah. I believe it.
I will read that book. Okay, wait a second. Okay, so I'm gonna have to treat girls this way, and I'll treat them this way, and I get them to do anything I want. It's a great book. that wasn't the intent.
Right.
But I like to tease her like that. It's that's a player though, and there's a power differential, you know, and
Right.
like you got somebody else hanging on, you know, like your every word, hanging on every correspondence, you know, like
Yeah.
doubting their position in your life. You own that person, you know, you
Right,
own you're there, you are essentially their boss at that point. And
Right.
that's, you know, some people are into that. I will say, I'm not gonna, you know, say, hey, if that's your thing, that's not right. If that's your thing, by all means, get it. You know, some people like to be dominated. Some people like to be ordered around. You know, that they get, you know, but make sure you know that going in, that's what you're signing up for. You know, like some people like to be played. You know, there's this, I don't know, there's all kinds of potential.
You think they do, or probably subconsciously like to get played? Or?
Yeah.
No, I think you
there's
bring up a good point. I think you bring up an excellent point because, you know, just the same way that everybody's into different types of sex, right? Some people are into S&M, some people are into soft kissing and love making, and if you smack them, they're turned off. And so everybody has their different, and so it's important that you are matched. My first marriage, my husband and I were not matched. I scared the living shit out of him on the honeymoon night. And that first couple of weeks, I was like, oh, now we're married. We get to do all the freak stuff now. We were trying to save ourselves before marriage.
wow.
Yeah. And then
you unleashed
I feel like there should have been at least one conversation before the marriage. We're like, so what do you want to do when we get married? I mean, what's that?
Right. So my point is the same way people have there's so many variables with what type of sex you're into. I think it's the type of relationship too that, Brian, like you said, some people are into. Some people like to be dominated. Some people like to
so if you
feel used.
If you are a narcissist, for example, you're gonna really gravitate towards people who fuel that narcissism. You know, you're gonna like people with a very if they, you know, somebody with a very dependent or obsessive sort of personality or fixation on you. If I'm a narcissist, I'm gonna eat that up. I'm gonna love it. In fact, I'm gonna encourage it. And I might not encourage it overtly by saying, "Hey, I'm a narcissist. I like it when you show me this extra attention." But I'm going to behave in a way that's going to keep you coming back, you know, like the slot machines, you know.
They find each other. These people find each other.
Yeah.
Now that I believe, I think there's a point, like me and another comic friend of mine, Courtney G. You know Courtney G, right, Samantha?
I don't know personally, but I heard of. I know who
and me and Courtney are real tight, and we're different kinds of. We send different kinds of energy, and he said it to me. Like, there's women that'll do some crazy, not knowing who he is, where they'll do something crazy with me, but it may be a little bit after the fact. And he said, you know, Mark, you don't really command that kind of aura off for someone to do that. So, you know what? I said, you're right. I don't. I understand what I attract in the kind of energy. So you will. But then there's some people that don't recognize. They don't recognize. They kind of shoo away the person that would feed into your needs and go for the one that's not, trying to force them to. And that's the problem, where you fool yourself into thinking you got them doing it. And that's where a person's out of touch, you know.
Out of touch.
Yeah.
What they really want.
They're trying to fit this somebody into, like, fit a square peg into a round hole, you know. It's like, man, but you're so cute. You got all these things that I want. Why can't you just do this other thing? And that's when relationships start making compromises, and that's when it sucks. And that's when, like, 20 years later, you write a book called The Complete Player, and you go, you know what I mean? Like, what happens.
More like 5 years later.
Right. I caught that pun, Doctor, with the square peg inside the round
Appreciate it. That's a 30-year comedy veteran just got that joke.
Yes, we caught that. I would say for Samantha, I get Samantha's small stature. She's very, very attractive, but she's very confident. So I know that if me and Samantha was together, I'd have to be her bitch.
You already know. Certain energy that people do attract, though, you know. You know, like you said, there's some people, you know, want to get played, and so they will find that narcissist, right?
Nope.
But the important thing is just to really be communicative on the front end. If you can find somebody grown enough to be real, to be honest about what they want, that's the best way to go. If you can just be like, all right, well, this is how I want to do it. I want you to tie me up every Thursday, but on Fridays, you got to let me breathe a little bit. Okay. Right. Listen, whatever it is that you're into, as long as the two of you are on the same page. And I think that's the disconnect. I think that
why we got to limit it to just two?
Wow.
No, we don't. We absolutely don't.
S&M Thursday. S&M Thursday.
There we go.
And Exhale Friday.
You got to have a whole schedule lined
up. You gotta let me breathe on Friday.
And then on Friday, your ass get tied up.
You're right, exactly.
Yeah.
Switch around. There you go.
But it's I think it's interesting. I want to reinforce. I want to use that word again. I just think it's important that people understand, when we see patterns of our behavior, like I get this girl. I was talking to this girl today actually, because she posted on Facebook about breaking up with a dude, and I've known this girl for about maybe 7 months. I think I met her a while ago during the pandemic at a comedy show. And I think I've seen her post about 4 or 5 different breakups during that 7 months, and I was like, why? Like, why do you keep, why does it keep, why? Okay, first of all, it's repeat behavior, it's pattern. And she's like, I don't know. I just keep meeting the wrong guy. And like, that's fine. I meet the wrong girl all the time. But what I don't do is fall in love, change my Facebook status, post about, you know what I mean? Right. Like I don't fully integrate that person every single time, but like apparently you find a guy and suddenly, boom, my life is all about him. I'm going to tell the whole world, my Facebook friends, everybody, and then 5 times in 7 months, I'm like, why do you keep doing this? It's pattern behavior. Yeah. And if we look at pattern behavior, and if that behavior is fine with us, if we're cool with it, like maybe she's happy doing that. Right. I don't think so. Talking to her doesn't sound like it. So if you find yourself in a pattern that is dysfunctional and not very satisfying, that's when you need to start looking at, why do I fall in this behavior pattern? Is it something like variable reinforcement? Is it something like, this is the way I learned, these skills and so forth? And
I want to speak to that for a second, actually, right before we close, because we're coming up. Yeah, I think we're going over, but that's a very interesting point, because here's the thing. No matter where people are in their relationships, whether they're communicating or not, whether they're putting up with shit that they don't have to or not, everybody is broken, right? Everybody has something that has happened to them that is somehow affecting them today, right? For me and for a lot of women and men, there was sexual abuse as a child, right? So that can have so many different implications. But here's the good part, right? Here's the good part. If people are fortunate enough, people like me are fortunate enough to mature and grow up and get counseling, right? To get the counseling that they need, then what they'll learn in counseling is that as a result of these terrible things that happened to you in the past, right? You picked up some behaviors. So in counseling, you get to look at those behaviors and, like you said, put them on an inventory. It's one thing to just keep making the same mistakes in life, but it's another thing to make the same mistakes and then turn around and make an inventory of your life and look at all on a sort of linear scale and then see the patterns. It's very simple to say, oh, people, need to see their patterns. But as a human, the psychology to be able to be transparent and introspectful enough to do that is very difficult. So that's why I say it's unfortunate for people like me, who were able to get the counseling that they needed. In counseling, what I learned was that I had all these sexual behaviors that I had picked up. All right. And then I had to look at them and figure out which ones I was going to keep and which ones I was going to discard. Right. And then of the ones that I wanted to keep, I had to figure out how I was going to augment them so that they fit my life. Right. So that they work for me. And so that's when you start getting really honest with yourself and really honest with your sex partners. And then once you have all that sort of congregated together, it becomes a lot easier to be like, you know what, this isn't for me. I'm out. I'm moving on. Right. You don't keep making the same mistake over and over and over again.
Well, in theory, you wouldn't want to.
I agree on that. The last pick, I know you run it, but uh, what you're talking about, Samantha, is righteous. You mentioned one thing. I think there's two things that make a relationship work. Whatever it is, there's only three kinds of relationship: romantic, platonic, and business. And there's really only two things: trust and communication. You mentioned the communication part, and you have to have the trust, and they're equal to each other. And so you got to have that. Now, the thing is, to trust the person, talking about them telling you the truth. Now, you can't always go by what they say. You got to watch their actions.
Yeah.
So then their actions tell you. Now, the honesty comes to within yourself. You got to think about, okay, is this what this person does? And you get an idea of a pattern. This is some things that I don't really dig about this person.
Mm.
And this is probably going to be the way they are. Can I deal with that? And if the answer
Right.
is no, then you have to be able to step off
That's right.
before it gets too far.
That's
Before
right.
you're married, kids are involved, money, the whole nine. And people don't do that. Everybody thinks love conquers all, and
Oh God.
those
Yeah.
are sweet songs, and love is a
What's
beautiful.
love got to
Right.
do?
Or you could just
Got
really
to
Right,
just
do
exactly.
with
like,
it.
I was saying that before
he's
Tina
gonna
wrote that song.
change. He's gonna
What's
change.
love? But an
Right.
what is it? Help me. But a second-hand
And
emotion.
emotion. Yeah.
Hey, didn't she didn't she quit her or divorce her husband because he was beating her? I don't know.
Yeah,
Ike
she
Turner.
figured
Yeah, Ike
it
Turner.
out.
Yeah.
Be
That's
interested
That's
to
right.
know if
She
she wrote
figured it
that
out.
song before or after the beatings.
I would like to point this out. I never knew this before, but Tina decided to divorce Ike while staying at a hotel in Dallas, Texas.
Yeah.
So I live in the city that broke up that marriage.
Got some
Wow.
serious
So you're
energy happening.
you're responsible for the Kennedy assassination and the breakup of Ike and Tina Turner.
I know. We just are rotten, really. We kill presidents, break up perfectly good marriages.
Thank goodness there's the Cowboys. That's my team. So
Well,
and we have
listen,
good barbecue.
there you go.
you guys, we did a great show.
Thank you.
Bada bing,
Thank
bada
you.
bang. We did another great show.
Sam, it's all you, baby. We're just your props. That's
Yeah.
it.
I tried my best to create the best cleavage just
I know.
possible.
And I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Marc, as the co-host of this show, I've been encouraging Samantha to beef up the eye candy so that we can get more viewers. What do you think? We think she did a good job this time?
I mean,
He's pimping me out on my own shit.
I mean, they say sex sells, but and I'm saying it's not even being flirty. I mean, Samantha. I mean, I said Samantha's beautiful, so she definitely. The beauty will definitely attract some people. Now, I may make some old sour bitches all angry. I ain't watching that no pretty bitch. But women don't hate. You know what I'm saying?
You can hate me now.
But
I think they just like put a black bar over my side of the screen, and just watch you for the rest of the show. Now I
don't have the rats too often. That's
yeah. This has been Sam. You put together a good show. And Marc's a great guest. Thank you, Marc, for joining us. And very nice to meet you.
Late in. Sorry for not.
I have.
No one knew you were late until you said you were late.
That's all right. I've only been doing comedy for about 10 years, so you got me beat by. I give respect to the people who have been in it longer than me. I know how hard that is. I thank you so much for staying in there, and I really appreciate your hairstyle because although mine's growing out, I kind of like that look. We got that going.
I'm about to braid mine like Samantha.
Well, we thank everybody for joining the King Abrams Show this week, April 15th. This is episode 3. So join us next week at 5 p.m. Watch live on YouTube, or you can listen to our podcast anywhere podcasts are available.
Today's April 15th.
Today is the Ides of April.
I gotta do my taxes.
No shit.
You gotta turn them in today.
Yeah, you got till midnight.
Uh-oh.
Don't forget to go to Amazon.com and check out our books. Dr. Brian King wrote a book called The Art of Taking It Easy. And I wrote a book called The Complete Player. And it really just breaks apart the science and psychology. His is about laughter and lifestyle. And mine is about sex and addiction and love. So if you really nosy and want to know all my business, all you haters out there, buy my book. I put it all on the table. So you'll definitely have some shit on me when you read my book. So thanks for joining us, Marc. Marc, where can they find you?
Oh, Marc Makes Me Laugh on IG, as I think you had below there. On
Right
Twitter,
on.
on Twitter, it's Marc Howard No Joke on Twitter and Facebook. And you should send that book to Pierre because he thinks he's the biggest player. So show him how to complete his playerism.
Complete his. We're gonna get that out to Pierre. We're gonna help you complete your playerism, Pierre. You should come on the show and talk to me about it. Listen,
Right.
Tune in next week, 5 p.m. Pacific, the King Abrams Show. We out of here.
All right.